It's the Political Free Agents, and we're back for our Wednesday episode. What's going on, fellas? How you guys doing?
Good, man. Excited about this one tonight. It's been, there's been a lot of questions, man, about sports, both at the high school level and at the, at the college level, man. Since the pandemic hit, and we got two of my favorites on tonight, man. I'm excited about this one. For those of you that that know me, especially when it comes to individuals and to sports. For me to admire an individual is a very big thing. And, and getting to know Sean over the past, kind of 6-7 years and having his daughter and Lauren, play softball and work out together, man. I mean, he's one of the best there is in the city of Houston. There's a lot of people that hold that opinion. So I'm excited to have him on tonight, and have him talk through some things. And then, we got my man RL Booker on, who is at the collegiate level. I'm gonna let him expand on that a little bit more. So this is gonna be a good one tonight, John.
That's good stuff. I'm excited about this one. There's definitely a lot of questions going around this topic. So, Mike, how you doing, brother?
What's going on, gents? I'm just as excited to see what's going on in the sports world right now. So, just gonna sit back and listen.
Absolutely. Chris, why don't you take us away with the first topic?
Absolutely, man. There's been, like I said, there's been so many announcements come. We had the conversation a while back in terms of, we looked at it in the prism from a worst case scenario. What happens if sports doesn't happen this fall? Which, man, 3 weeks ago, even a month ago was what looked like a very real possibility. Especially at the high school level. It was just an unknown. And now we've made the announcement. Sean and I were talking about it yesterday. When I saw them, they've made the announcement that, summer strength and conditioning is going to be able to start June 8th. And that is a big, big thing for high school athletes because the wondering is now gone. The dominoes are starting to fall in place. If BJ Garcia, gets a chance, he's going to come on here in a little bit because he's going to have an announcement to make on his own Facebook Live at 8:30. In regards to into the South Texas Celeste Showcase Camp. But I mean, Coach Mack, what do you think in terms of getting started, man? I mean, what are you looking for in terms of, in terms of kids coming back, man? How are you guys preparing? And really, what are you hearing and how are the coaching staffs preparing?
That's a great question, man. It's kind of like, finally we have some light at the end of the tunnel and it's actually a light and not a train, because we didn't know what that looked like. As far as, with the stay at home and the quarantine and the news, you don't really know. And the big thing, I think, hats off to the UIL for really doing some common sense decision making. They didn't rush to judgment. We haven't planned a whole lot, which kind of be frustrating, as far as, like what the direction is, but they've really done a great job of getting this thing ahead of it and being patient, and hats off to the Texas High School Coach Association doing the same. And right now we've been cleared for June 8th as a potential start date, but nobody knows what that looks like. How many hours per day, how many kids per session, do we wear masks? I think the big thing as we go forward is, the most important thing is the health, safety and welfare of our athletes, and that we need to all, we let the government and the legislature take over, and they, hats off to those guys and getting ahead of it and figuring this all out. Now it's going to be up to coaches and administrators to kind of take over and take care of our kids. And so we can't rush to, we got to basically assume that every kid is not going to hadn't been working out and doing the things that we need to do. So it's really about starting over a little bit and having some compassion and really some smartness and some intelligence in how we're going to get these kids, because we're not trying to get them ready for summer conditioning. That's not what we're after with this thing right now. We're after right now getting ready for fall sports. That is the ultimate goal. So it is a marathon, not a sprint kind of deal, so.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, and that, I think you raise a good point, Sean, because I think that is, one of the things that in talking to some of the other coaches is, well, have these athletes. I was talking to someone in Refugio today, and I was asking them, well, what's been happening there? How have kids been working out? And it's kind of a haves and a have-nots. The kids that are athletes that are prepared. I mean, there's kids in Refugio right now. The Jared Kellys, the Austin Ochoas that are getting ready to make that jump to the next level. D1 professionally, they are taking it extremely seriously. I mean, Sean, you've seen the girls out there. When they get in the dirt, they ain't out there playing around. They're going 100 miles an hour. They're putting in work. They're chatting it up with each other. They're pushing each other. They are in a team-based environment and a team spirit right now. They've lost absolutely nothing. But on the flip side of that, you've had kids that don't have those luxuries or opportunities. Maybe the parents are working 2 jobs. Maybe they've been laid off and don't have the resources, et cetera. So it's going to be kind of all over the spectrum. And I think, that is exactly kind of the concern is, I mean, man, yesterday being out there in that heat, it was hot, man. I think we were at 93, 94. And we have been working nonstop since this whole thing started. And that took a toll yesterday. You know what I'm saying? So you start getting kids out there, either in a helmet, eventually in pads, et cetera. You're going to have to ramp up to that, because if not, you may potentially have a whole other situation on your hands. And, I think there may be some pushback too. I mean, I don't know if it's changed or not, but, a lot of times, kids can, after they work out, they can drop their clothes. They get washed at school. Sometimes uniforms get washed at school. Sean, do you see that, especially on the high school level, there being a big pushback for those kids to now take that stuff home and be accountable for it, just to kind of ensure that you negate the potential of them getting sick at school or something not getting washed? Or, I mean, that's also going to be a big thing. The health and hygiene, kids taking showers at school. Some of them, I mean, whether they take a shower, get lunch, the reality is some kids in some of these small towns and some of these inner city schools, I mean, that may be the only time they get to take a bath, or that may be the only time they get, a meal or something like that. There's going to be so much more going into it that it doesn't just flip a switch and go back to normal and them saying, man, we're going to jump into sports and it is what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I think the UIL is going to come down and regulate some of that stuff. They're going to mandate that, like, no locker room access, no shower access. What we do at Foster, you wear your own stuff, and you work out and you leave and you go home. So, we don't do laundry for the kids during the summer. Obviously, in the school year, we regulate all that, but I think there'll be some baby steps, and there'll be things that you mentioned that'll be mandated what we can and cannot do, like only these many restrooms can be open, and because they can sanitize it, no locker room access. If you're feeling sick, don't come. And, what's the difference between feeling sick and then being out of shape and throwing up? I mean, there's a whole different dynamic, but I think your question will be, it'll be mandated by the UIO what we can and cannot do. And I think as we go to phases, they'll be able to, I think 2 weeks, every 2-3 weeks it'll be something new, and I think we'll be full go by August.
Yeah. Have you, and again, in talking to some of the coaches in book, I'm gonna ask you a question about it here in a minute after Sean gets finished. But, how have you, outside of social media and things like that, what type of channels, before this coming in, did you set up with your athletes to kind of keep charge of? I know Foster's a little bit different because, you've got a little bit more luxury, so to speak, than some of the smaller towns and some of the inner city schools. But how have you been able to really kind of keep track of them too? And what are you expecting from your athletes when they come back? I know it's going to be difficult to kind of say right now, but I know you, Sean, and I know that you've probably benchmarked and set expectations to begin with as to what you wanted them doing. So, I mean, even for their own safety getting back, what are you looking for in terms of preparedness from them?
I gave them workouts, and we had some stuff that we wanted them to do, and we checked in with them weekly, and we did all the stuff. We didn't go overboard, man. Like, it was so new that I thought football wasn't as important to them, right? So we checked in every couple of days, and we did a team meeting every Thursday at 2. But they needed to learn how to manage the new life that they were given come spring break. And I thought that me and my football coach were there to help them and manage them and be there for them. But we've also become really is do your work, do your online work. Football is going to be there. Don't worry about football. Here's your workout for the day. Here's your work for the day that you got to do for school. It's online. Create a routine for yourself. So personal discipline was a big deal for us. So my expectations for them when we start to work out is that they have completed all their schoolwork and they have been promoted to the next grade.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the biggest thing for me, because even though I know most of my guys have done something, no, all of them aren't going to be 100% in shape. There's going to be a range, just like it always has been. So when we attack the first day, it's going to be like they're just getting off the couch. We're going to
no doubt.
And so it might bore some kids, but I'm not willing to risk, injury. Like, we're going to take this slow. We're going to start over, and we're going to try to do it right and correctly for the safety and wellness of, kids, our health. That's what I'm worried about now. So I wanted them to get through their grades first.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome.
And assess the new normal, because it's been different for us.
And it has been.
We'll be there when it's there. So now we can ramp up when maybe some other schools and other programs have been hammering. Now kids are tired of it, where we're chomping at the bit to get going,
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, Book, I know that's one of the things that we kind of talked about, at the beginning of it, and at the university level, with a lot of the incoming freshman kids that, may be coming off of injuries, may have had a season cut short if they're dual athletes and things like that. A lot of those kids are baseball players, track and field, things like that. I mean, what have you heard at the university level? Because when we talked a few weeks ago and we were all on, I know the University of Kansas was very different. And I think all of us had pretty much bet, and you had heard, point blank that that there would probably be no football this fall. And then today, you jump on, and as of 2:55 p.m., I see where, the NCAA, quote unquote, approved voluntary activities for football and basketball starting June 1. I mean, you made the good point, man, that there is no such thing as voluntary. How is that going to be accounted for, man, at the college level? Because, you still have to take some of these precautions in place. But like you said, man, nothing is voluntary. Once you're on that scholarship and that money is in hand, there's going to be a different level of accountability. What are y'all doing at the collegiate level, man, to make adjustments?
Like I said earlier, well, first, shout out to Sean. His boy got drafted by the Cowboys, which I'm happy about. So that's a good thing. I'm a big Cowboys fan, so I'm glad his boy is going to the Cowboys.
Yeah, I was fired up for CD and his family, man, and to have him back in Texas and close. So I hope to see him every Thanksgiving game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
that's right. I know that's right.
Hey, Book, listen, man, I'm not a Cowboys fan. Don't get your stream ended early, brother. You hear me?
Yeah, I'll root for CD.
No, but go ahead, man. I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
But for us, I'm just saying for us, I just had a meeting this morning, and it's all over the place. It's like I said last time we talked, I was for sure there wouldn't be any football. So it changes. I think it changes probably every week. So who knows, man? Who knows? But the NCAA today said we can start practicing, and so, like I said, there's no such thing as voluntary. So the guys will be there whenever the coaches tell them to be there, they'll be there. It's not just the guys either. Whatever sport is going to start popping, they'll be there. The only thing that I'm thinking about for high school is that, and just for safety reasons, if they can move the spring sports to the fall and move the fall sports to the spring. So instead of playing football from August through December, play football from February through May or June, and bring the spring sports, play softball, baseball, whatever else they do in the spring, play them in the fall. Because you think about it, baseball and softball is really spread out. There's really not that much contact between players and officials. And then the other thing is, do you need fans? Do you need fans in the stands? So that was one of my recommendations, that they would change the spring sports to the fall and the fall sports to the spring, because I just can't see how you would socially distance football players, socially distance basketball players, because those are both contact sports. So, man, and you know what? I forget if it was a professional league or it was a college squad that are making the players responsible for washing their own gear. That they can't take showers or anything at the facility, that they are responsible for washing their gear. So that's the thing, because for every level, high school, middle school, coaches are always washing gear, practice gear, game jerseys. So if you want to keep people, I don't know, man. I don't know how you gonna do it, Sean. I don't know how you gonna do that, man. I don't know.
It's gonna be tricky, man. That's exactly why I asked that question. It is going to be tricky because you will have to, account for the potential. Basically, what you want to do is you have to account for the ability to basically not get someone sick and then potentially get sued out of it.
Now you have to be honest with you. You have to be okay with somebody getting sick. Period.
Well, that too. Yeah.
Because if we start, we're going to start, and we're just going to have guidelines and figure it out, and like I said, and have the safety. But we cannot change the things that we do. I don't care. My thing is let's play football. It don't matter if it's fall or spring. I just want to play, right? I mean,
yeah.
Kids like it. It's easier to play in the fall because that's tradition, right? So, but as far as we have to be okay, because I promise a locker is less than 6 feet in distance from each other. You know
sure.
what I'm saying? The weight room, they're going to be tight. Hell, I mean, football, wrestling, basketball, it's tight quarters, and we're going to have to be okay with a kid potentially getting sick and having a plan for that. But it's I guess it's the herd mentality we're going to have to be okay with, that everybody's talking about.
Absolutely. Hey, Sean, the kid that was at Foster, and I can't remember his name right now, but the state championship wrestler. What's his name?
Chidozie Nwankwo. His name is Dot. Nickname is Dot.
Listen, man, that kid is built like a 30-year-old man. He is insanely put together and looks freakishly strong. But he's going on a wrestling scholarship somewhere, correct?
Nah, he's going on a full-ride football scholarship to U of H.
Oh, is he really? Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, football's his first love. Wrestling, he did because he was good at it, but he really didn't like it. But he knew he was really good at it.
Yeah, I was curious about that because I was wondering if there were going to be any additional restrictions for him wrestling wise. But I guess that doesn't apply now. But one of the things that I wanted to discuss too is have y'all seen? And I don't know how this is going to filter down, but as everyone starts to make, adjustments, Sean, Lisa is at a childcare facility. Have you seen, and this goes for childcare and schools, have you seen the new CDC guidelines for reopening schools and what they put forward?
Yeah, right now it's impossible.
It's insane.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a long list. There's like 20 points, but I'll just name off some of them real quick. And one of them is, one of the big ones, no sharing of any items or supplies, all belongings to individual cubbies, labeled containers, no electronic devices, toys, games, or learning aids being shared, desks 6 feet apart, distance on school buses, 1 child per seat, install sneeze guards and partitions where you can, only one-way routes in hallways, and it just progressively snowballs from there. And it's like, man, I mean, I don't, with school funding and resources already stretched as it is, man, I don't know how that gets.
To be honest with you, it's we're not built. The public education system right now is not built. Foster High School, Lamar Consolidated ISD, we're not built for that right now. We go 25 to 30 kids in a classroom, and they're stacked on top of each other. Right. I mean, you're talking about high school. Kids don't even bring pencils to school. You're not gonna let them write. You're not gonna give them a pencil. I mean, they're. You think after this quarantine, we're gonna say, "Hey, no phones"? Yeah, right. So, I'm with that. If that's what we're gonna do, then there are gonna be people that make a lot more money than me that are gonna have to figure it out. And then and we're gonna be the enforcer. But I am not a decision maker on that. It doesn't. As a realist, if anything, I'm a realist. That ain't happening, man.
Yeah.
But this is what frustrates me is I listen to things like that, and I mean, essentially what they're talking about and trying to do is eliminate all risk, and this is just a microcosm. I mean, sports is a microcosm, like just in the economy and everything else. They're trying to eliminate risk out of everything right now when it comes to this virus, and it's impossible. Like you said, the realist in you knows that's never going to work. It's just never going to work because you know how the real world works when it comes to sports and youth sports. So it's crazy to listen to CDC guidelines like that, knowing what you know, obviously, when it comes to how the real world works. It's just you can't eliminate risk altogether.
No.
And that's what they're trying to do.
I mean, if you look at one of the, I'm reading here, it says one-way routes and hallways, tape on sidewalks and walls, assure the kids stay 6 feet apart. Okay, so they have that at like the local Walmart here, our little neighborhood Walmart. No one follows it. Like, and I understand there'll be teachers, administrators, et cetera, there that will help guide them, but people don't follow that stuff, and it's going to be very difficult. And then and I'm guessing, Sean, the way you guys do it is you switch teachers, right? Like, there's not a generalist that teaches all subjects in high school. But
yeah, right. So you're an English teacher and you're going to teach English all day.
Right.
So
but
you're going to have
here's a guideline.
30. They're going to have 30 students per every hour.
So here's the guideline though. Same children stay with the same staff all day. No switching groups or teachers.
Yeah, that sounds like very elementary school to me.
Right.
You know?
So like, how does that process? Like, that's saying Foster or any high school change your entire educational approach. And now, teachers, I require you to keep the same kids all day. How is that even functional? How many kids do you guys have at Foster? 1,500?
Let's say 2,000.
2,000?
Yeah, about 2,000.
How do you even do that with 2,000 kids?
You don't. I mean, let's be honest, you don't.
Yeah, like,
it
seems a non-starter.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be tough.
But even Book, you made mention. I mean, this is new territory for you. Before we started, you basically told me that you're getting ready to teach online this fall. That's going to be, your new reality, man. I mean, I had a meeting today. Now that the ship channel, is starting to get back rolling, and we're starting to see refineries and things like that come back to life, and things are getting implemented, and there's changes. I mean, we've all, Mike, myself, John, we've all made personal changes to our home offices to make it look as professional and as efficient as possible. I mean, this is going to be, our new reality that we're going to have to, for those of us that are strong communicators and that know how to pull resources together very quickly. I mean, this probably isn't going to be a real big deal for us because we can adjust, right? It's what we do. But I mean, there's going to be some people that just can't do it, man. And on the educational level, especially the further you go down the line, especially the further inner city you get, man, those may not be options, man. And I don't know if maybe the state's going to have to, come up with, something for teachers to give them some of the resources so they don't, strain their own budgets or whatnot. How is that being handled at the university level? What are y'all, doing to make adjustments? Not just for students and for athletes, but just in general. I mean, how are those being implemented?
Yeah, I'm just going to speak on what we're doing at KU. It did not go well this semester. We did a bunch of surveys with students and faculty. It did not go well. So students didn't like it. Faculty didn't like it. So right now we are debating. Today in the meeting, we were talking about moving school to start the first week of August and school to be over with by Thanksgiving. So that's on the table right now for us. And so there's going to be a combination of face-to-face, hybrid, which is a combination of face-to-face and online, and then straight online learning. Of course, for us, our enrollment is down. And so they want to bring the freshmen in. They think about bringing the freshmen and the seniors back on campus and have the sophomores and juniors maybe do the fall, online.
I see that. That makes sense. That makes sense. But I guess my question is, what is the average class size, for you or the average class size at KU?
Oh man, it matters. It differs. Because some of the classes like Psych 101, that could be like 200 or 300 people in there.
Man.
So we all know you all had those classes, right? You walk in there and I went to UT, And I walked to my Psych 101 class. The friggin' Psych 101 class was bigger than my graduating class was. So,
Yeah.
it just depends what university you go to. But for me, my largest class has only been 50 students. And so there's just no way to do 50 students 6 feet away, 6 feet apart. It's just not going to happen unless I get one of those big auditorium rooms and do something like that. But I think what Sean said is on point, man. I mean, this is a new day, man. I don't think really anybody knows what's going on, really. And I think TEA is going to have to step in here and make some adjustments. I think this is just me speaking out loud, but I look forward to Saturday schools because you want to spread it out as much as possible. You want to maybe have one class go Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. The other class go Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Maybe even have one class come in the morning or one class come in the afternoon. But going to school like we did in August 2019, that ain't happening. That's just not going to fly. And the thing is, what's going on now, some parents are not comfortable with sending their kids back to school. So you have to make parents comfortable, and you have to make teachers and faculty, and administrators comfortable also. So I don't know what's going to go on. And like Sean said, it's above his pay grade. It's definitely above my pay grade. But in the last 2 weeks, we've changed how we were going to teach this fall. And then we still haven't really settled it. But, like I said, today we decided to go online. I don't know what's going to happen next week.
What does that do financially for the school? So in the pre-show, we were talking about how schools are cutting football programs, but if you're going through this and it essentially becomes an online school, people start looking at different options, right? That, oh, well, it's online, so I'm not going for like the experience. Now I'm looking specifically at what educational skills am I learning from this school? And so that kind of changes the decision making. So
yeah, because
if
you're not an athlete. Yeah, if you're not an athlete, you can go to community college.
Right. So how does that impact your enrollment and the future of Kansas in that sense?
Or any school.
Yeah, any school.
Really, the small schools, as Chris was talking about, the small schools are already cutting staff. They're already cutting programs. I forget what university was, but they pretty much cut like 4 or 5 programs right off the top.
I believe it was Bowling Green. Does that sound right to you, Sean? It was Bowling Green.
So it's amazing. Schools are here to survive, and like John said, schools are losing money, and schools aren't in the losing money business, and everybody wants to have their freshman experience, that freshman college experience. So it's going to be tough decisions. There are going to be tough decisions made, and this is where presidents and provosts and deans, this is where they make the big bucks and why they make the big bucks. And and like TEA is going to probably make decisions for the whole state, just like URL is making the decision for sports. The TEA is probably making decisions on how people go to school, or unless they send it down to the districts.
Man, and that I'm going to pivot off that a little bit because I had a conversation with a guy. I've been looking for a new therapist. Just someone that I can see that's close on a biweekly, monthly basis. Just to keep my mental health in check. Because I'm a huge proponent of mental health. And keeping yourself mentally fit. I think it's something that if you can do it and you have the resources to do it because it will only help you. But, I've talked to some people that have children that, are special ed, that, are required to be in those programs, that have reverted back since the pandemic started. Some of them have insulated themselves, become very pessimistic about things. It's another thing that I haven't really seen talked about. And Sean, especially on the athletic side, man, a lot of coaches they go get that special ed degree. I'm curious, man, just to see what happens with that when we get back into school, because I haven't really seen any guidelines in terms of special ed, and how, what type of normalcy they're going to try to return to with that inside the school system. I mean, that's a whole nother thing, but it's a reality that's going to have to be dealt with. And I was talking to Willis about it because him and another friend of mine, Debo, are in San Antonio and Dallas, and both of them, teach special ed classes. And they're like, man, we're already strained as it is. This could be catastrophic if we don't get some type of help, by way of maybe additional resources, not only funding wise, but teaching wise, man. And I'm just, with everything stretched, I'm just curious to see how that even becomes somewhat normal, when these kids get back into school, because that's going to be a reality that everyone's going to have to deal with. It just is. And again, I mean, I haven't seen anybody in the news media talk about that or discuss that. Mental health in general really hasn't been, discussed all that in full, but it's a reality, man. I mean, it's something that we're going to have to deal with. And I'm just curious to see the parameters, because that's a whole different type of exposure, that just puts everyone at risk, So it's just something to think on.
Well, for me, because I spend half my time as a teacher. Other time I'm in athletics. But so here's what I've been reading up on. There's been a lot of issues with mental health and with SPED. So SPED students are actually suffering right now. And so, unfortunately, money rules a lot of what we do in education. So this is a brand new territory that we've never seen before. In our lifetime. So I don't know what's gonna go down. I mean, before I started teaching in college, I didn't think that we had SPED, because in high school we have IEPs and 504 plans and all that stuff. Well, we have it at the college level too. And I was getting some stuff from my students who were not. It just wasn't going well. So I don't know how we solve that problem. I don't even know if you can solve it, but I think you have to help them cope. And like what I saw from my students, I'm not going to speak for anybody else, but from my students, I had a lot of students under distress, this last half of the semester. So I don't know what's going to happen, but that's a good point you brought up, Chris.
Yeah, man. I mean, and I don't bring that up just as a talking point. I bring it up because I always look at the nuances and things, because I just want to know not only the why, but how some of these things are being discussed and what type of pathways to success exist. And when it comes to that, man, when it comes to the mental health aspect of it and to the special ed aspect of it, especially in school. I mean, you know how it is. I mean, Sean, you know how it is at the high school level. If a student passes away or dies in a car accident or something like that, counselors make themselves available, for these kids to come talk and whatnot. There's the potential for that system to just be completely overwhelmed if there's not additional assets or resources. Everyone that is inside of the administration now becomes some type of resource. You know what I'm saying? And if they don't get talked about, if the questions don't get asked, it'll be forgotten about and swept under the rug. So, it's why I ask it, not for any reason, personally, but I am curious and concerned about it because, man, I just haven't seen a whole lot on it, so it just a talking point, man, just something that I was, thinking about in discussion and something that I've been researching and something that's concerned me.
I think another part of that, Chris, is that a lot of times sports is that outlet, and going back to no fall sports, if the sports are gone, I mean, we all know we played some former sports and know athletes. If they don't have that outlet, like they have to have it go somewhere, and if they don't have that outlet, what does that do? And I think that's just an unknown. We don't know. Like if that kid that needs that outlet doesn't have an outlet, what happens to that kid at that point? And I think that's a huge unknown that I don't think we have a way around. But I think we definitely, from a school level, we need to have some answer for that. We need to have a way to kind of understand that situation and provide some form of support.
You may, I mean, you may, and this is for you coaches, a possible solution might be it might just be a more of a small unit leadership type thing where, you get, as a coach, you put together a short couple minute video and you're like, hey, do this drill at home for 30 minutes, go outside, spend some time, like do this workout, like you get kids who can't come to, like, if they can't be involved in their sports program anymore or whatever, like if you're still providing that guidance and that leadership and you're still telling them what they should do and providing some sort of guidance as far as how to stay active and healthy and what drills they should do and, how they should kind of keep their head in the game as far as staying active, even if it's only for 30 minutes or an hour a day. That 30 minutes or an hour might, it might help them mentally, like cope with things, and especially if they're hearing it from their coaches or teachers, faculty or whatever. But, I think it's just going to end up being a small unit leadership type thing where you're just kind of guiding them and leading them in a different way instead of, maybe close, tight knit quarters like you would normally at school. So just something to think about, just kind of giving little 10-minute things here and there during the day. Like, hey, go do this, go do that, put in some work, do this drill, do that drill. Kids can do that individually at home and just kind of network that way. Something to think about. I don't know.
Sean, what is, Coach Mack, what is your individual biggest concern? Not just in terms of athletics, because like you said, athletics will be there. But what's one of the things that has either quote unquote bothered you or kept you up at night in terms of getting back in this thing and trying to get back to normal?
I think the biggest thing, like one of my concerns is that like we want to rush. Like one is the misinformation of what's really going on has been, you watch one channel, it's this, and then you watch one channel, it's that, and are we going up? Are we going down? What curve are we flattening? Like you get all these conspiracy theorists. All right, well, so what's really the deal? But my biggest concern of it is that, are we going to rush into things that we don't have to rush into just because we need to get back to normal? You know what I'm saying? I want to get a world going, man. I got a degree in finance. Obviously, I want to see gas prices and people back to work and humming along and stuff, but at what expense? Luckily, we would not, think about this. If the COVID-19 was killing children, man, that'd be something else, wouldn't it? We wouldn't even be having this conversation right now because we'd all be, looking like the Jackson 5 in here with afros and beards, and we never been to the barbershops, and we'd be skinny because we no food. And so, that's the thing is like, are we okay? Like, are we going to rush to judgment just because we want to get back to normal? Are we going to rush it? And then if we do rush it and we get back, are we okay with some people getting sick? Are we going to, I don't want to do yo-yo, man. I don't want to go start and then stop and then start and then stop. I'm a routine guy, man. It'll wear me out, And so, and believe it or not, kids want routine. Kids want discipline, and so, and they want answers and they want to know what's going on. And nobody knows this is uncharted territory unless you look at what it was like 100 years ago, but so many things have changed since then. So I'd say that's my biggest fear is that either the virus either mutates and it starts hurting kids, right? And then are we rushing back too quickly? And then are we going to be okay if it does surge and, it becomes more like the flu? Every year, man, like every August, September, and January, February, we get kids gone a week or two because of the flu. And I know people, I haven't got a flu shot in a long time, but, I haven't got the flu in a long time, so it's just different, man. And everybody has some sort of, we got to be okay with it. what vaccine or not, we just have to be okay with it.
Yeah, I'm like Sean. I haven't got a flu shot in years, but I'm getting one this year.
Yeah, I haven't either. I haven't, man. I haven't had one, and I don't know how long, man. That's what Mike was saying. Mike was like, man, in the military, what'd you say, Mike? They shot you up with so much stuff you don't even know what you've been shot up with.
It wasn't even a needle. They just shoot you right through the back. Gun and boof.
Yeah, all three of you guys were military guys, man.
Yeah, what they used to do to us, they would line us up, tell us to take off our one of our sleeves, one of our blouses, and we just go down the line and they just shoot us, man.
Remember that gun? Remember that?
Yeah, that's it. That was it. That gun, man. Yeah.
Hey, brother, when you're government property, they can do whatever they want to you.
Oh, you going overseas? You need to take this. Boom, boom. Mm-hmm. So it's probably gonna come to that, man. I don't even barely take Advil or Tylenol or anything like that, drink a beer and some whiskey every now and then, but
that'll cure that cold for you, right, Sean?
So, I mean, it's just like I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm also one of my biggest fears is I don't want to be a germaphobe either. Like I want to,
no doubt.
And, what I mean, but I will obviously respect people's privacy and what the new normal is.
Well, it was that was the thing today, man. I had to go up to the plant today, and one of the customers walked in, and it just is, this is a customer at a major refinery, man. And it's natural to reach out and shake each other's hands because that's the business that we're in. We're in a people business where that's a sign of mutual respect. And he put his hand out to shake my hand and then, immediately pulled it back. And he was like, man, it's company policy. I got to give you a fist bump or something like that. It's like, damn, this is the new normal, man. I mean, this is what we're wading into, and it just, there's just so many unknowns. Like you said, Sean, it's one of the things that it's why we do this podcast really is because, like you said, man, no matter what channel you turn this to, everything is politicized. It don't matter what it is. Everything is politicized. And we used to, in this country, be curious about the why behind something. Why are we doing something? What led us to this? Now it is, what's the issue? How does it divide up along party lines? Let me take one side or the other, and that's that. We're done. So John, Mike, and I get together, man, and we get individuals that that we not only consider professionals, but that leading individuals in their field. I mean, Sean, you're extremely young, man. Especially in the Houston area. You're one of the most well-respected high school coaches and leaders that we have. And I value your input on a lot of these things because I know you're not just shooting from the hip. You know what I'm saying? You have talked to people at a variety of different levels, man, and ran these ideas by them and looked for, the weak spots in them and things like that. So I commend you for that, man, because those kids will be in good hands when they get back because I know you'll take every precaution necessary.
Yeah, and Sean and Book, I mean, this is ultimately about solutions, right? So, we can talk and argue back and forth about all these issues, but unless we're coming up with some sort of solution, it doesn't really matter ultimately, right? So that's why we have these conversations is, we're trying to get information and ideas from all these different people because when it's all said and done, like, yeah, you got to figure out a solution to these problems.
So,
yeah.
You got to be able to adapt to
right.
Like, you got that problem solved and it's not solved. You got to be able to adapt and go with the flow and figure this out. And, because I think it's going to be a constant change, so.
Yeah, we had someone on this Sunday, man, that a guy by the name of Bill Still, who is, in terms of not just politics, but I mean, he was a libertarian presidential candidate at one side. He's an economist. I mean, he's someone that has kind of been there, done that. And we had him on Sunday, and that was one of the parting, comments that he left us with was, man, he said, I've done quite a few interviews here lately. And he said, normally I just don't get anything out of it because someone automatically takes a line, takes a side. They force me to take a side. And then that's it. We end up arguing back and forth in that. I don't ever get a chance to really ask legitimate questions or come up with, solutions. And it was justifying for us, man, because, someone is out there listening to this and maybe taking ideas from it and saying, man, you know what? I mean, maybe we need to have these exact conversations, not just with, those in our circle, man, but those around us, our coaching staffs, our students, our parents, and start, if they haven't already, start nailing down solutions and putting best practices in place, man, because it's the only way that this is going to work. You know what I'm saying? That we get together and do it now, because, man, Sean, and Book, as well as anybody, when this thing gets back going, it's just not going to go from 0 to 25. It's going 0 to 100, and hopefully nothing gets missed in the interim. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know that we can afford to do that, because there's just too much at risk, like both of you said, man, with the future of this country, and that's the kids.
Well, the thing is, we actually have time. We actually have a plan for the fall now. I mean, the spring, it just kind of like snuck up on us. We didn't. I mean, it was like. So now, in the Army, we have this thing, as Sean said, you have to adapt. So in the Army, we had this phrase called adapt and overcome. So whenever, things are going to happen. So you just have to learn to adapt and overcome. And right now, I think the decision makers, the great thing about the military is that we have it's decentralized leadership. And so every soldier, has the ability to make decisions, and it goes up. We have squad leaders, platoon sergeants, platoon leaders, and all that stuff. So I think at this level, we actually have an opportunity to plan for what if it happens again. Then we do this. But if it doesn't happen, then we can continue like last fall. But for us, what we're doing is that we're already thinking it's going to come back. So that's why we're actually thinking about the fall semester being over at Thanksgiving. So we start early. So instead of us going to school, because we normally start classes the next to last week of August, and kids start coming back the middle of August. But now, if we start school the first week of August, we'll be done. We'll be done. I mean, a lot of universities are really coming to the point of like we're going to start early. We'll use Thanksgiving break as the end of face-to-face, and then we'll just do the rest of it online, until Christmas. Because generally, I mean, for us, after Thanksgiving, people are ready to go. You come back for Thanksgiving, people are ready to hit the house, because we have like 2 weeks left after Thanksgiving anyway. And because normally school's out the first week of December, finals the next week, and everybody's back home by the middle of December. So, I just think we have to have different plans for the fall, and actually probably for the whole school year. What happens if nothing happens this fall, but then we get hit like we did in March? So I'm sure schools and school districts are coming up with those kind of thought processes now, so it won't be a shit show come March of next year.
Yeah, doesn't catch them off guard. What does that do educationally, though, in terms of in general, like grading and those sort of things? Like if it ends early, like is there an asterisk on their final grades, or like is there grace in that? Like what do you estimate in terms of how that affects the education in general?
Well, I don't think it for grade wise. It's funny because up here in Kansas, schools gave students an option. They could take their grade, right, but they had at the end of the third quarter. So whatever they had at the end of the third quarter, that would be their grade for the fourth quarter. Or they could try to improve it, but the grade wouldn't be any worse than it was, at the end of the third quarter. So that was just this year. I don't know how school districts. I think that's going to be up to individual school districts and how they're going to determine what grades are. Because really, this was something really new for pretty much all of us in education this year, this semester. And so, I mean, what do you do? I mean, how do you punish a kid because one, they may not have the Wi-Fi capabilities, they may not have the laptop or desktop at home. And then again, if they're forced to do paper, how do you? I mean, there's a lot that goes on with this. So I don't know about grade wise, but I know for my class and for my department, we decided to go online, and the stuff that we normally would do face to face, we made it online. Got grades for that. There's a lot of work this semester that won't be next semester because now we have a little bit of experience with it. But I think things are going to change. I think the way we used to teach at college is definitely going to change from what it used to be.
Well, hell, book. I mean, as many trillions of dollars as they're giving away these days. I mean, I can't imagine how much it would cost to, give every kid a laptop, a simple laptop, and some Wi-Fi access. I mean,
but you know what, hey man, seriously though, seriously though, I mean, if one of these tech manufacturers wanted to earn that big tax write-off that they get, they could absolutely do something like that. Google or Apple come up with some type of, I wouldn't say scaled back, but like some type of an iPad Mini or some type of Google Pixel or something like that, and offer it to these kids, man. I mean, colleges, enroll, usually envelope it into tuition, and I know kids at St. Mary's get it. I think the kids at Refugio had, the opportunity to get something like that. I mean, Sean, do y'all do anything like that at Foster to make like electronics available to kids to take home or anything like that?
Yeah, they can check out a laptop or an iPad.
There you go.
Actually, we don't have any left at school at this moment.
Well, that's
crazy.
I mean, that's
kids that like you can check out a Wi-Fi hotspot for your house. So, and I know in Xfinity in neighborhoods gave away their free Wi-Fi in places too.
That's awesome, man.
Is that
That's awesome.
Free of charge?
So again, it just comes down to knowing who has the need and fulfilling that need for them. Like,
yeah.
It's kind of like what's fair and what's equitable. You know what I'm saying? And so you have to. What is not always fair is not always equal. You know what I'm saying? What's that equal is not fair. You just have to make sure that the playing field is level for everybody.
So what kind of pressure are parents who have that need for their kids? What kind of pressure are parents putting on the school boards, and what kind of pressure are the school boards putting on the politicians, and what kind of pressure are the politicians putting on Congress when it comes to solving these solutions or solving these problems? If it's a matter of money, like I said, I mean, in all seriousness, I'm being serious. I mean, if you're throwing around $3 trillion here, $2 trillion there, it's not that expensive to provide a kid with a small laptop and Wi-Fi access if this is the change, if this is part of the structural change that's going to have to happen. So, like, I mean, people need to get serious about that when it comes to applying certain pressure on the right people to solve that problem.
I think that'll come. Here's the deal, though. If you look at, there's so much fat in those bills, that $3 trillion is not going to education. That's
right. That's right. That's right.
Bumped up, and so not until somebody makes it a priority. I mean, look, the Texas Lotto was supposed to feed the education system when it first opened up. You remember that? It's like, oh, we're gonna start the Lotto in Texas, and a percentage of these proceeds would go fund Texas public education. Yeah, right. The quarantine has been the best thing for teachers because it shows how teachers, nurses, firefighters, policemen.
100%, big dog. 100%. And that is. I mean, you mentioned the Lotto and things like that. Things like oil and gas taxes and whatnot that fund a lot of these things. I mean, I haven't seen or heard anybody else bring up tapping the rainy day fund in Texas, which I think is almost at $10 billion. I don't know what it would cost. John, you guys might want to add that up, what it would cost to tap that and do exactly that, furnish kids with laptops or some type of electronic device. But I guarantee you that if you rolled out, $500 million to $1 billion out of that, it would probably cover all of that and then some with teacher raises and staffing and everything. I don't know. Maybe the rainy day fund is just a slush fund. Who knows?
I mean, a lot of them are already doing that, right? Like in terms of electronics, so they have Chromebooks and those sort of things that they're doing. This would just kind of ramp up the requirement of using them, which some people just aren't really comfortable with that, but it's kind of dragging them forward. Like right on the other side of this desk, my wife's desk, where she's teaching all day, and it's just like a completely different environment. Like it's just from a teaching perspective, it's different to teach online than it is to teach in person. And the same for learning. Not everybody can learn that way. And so tapping into that, I think, wouldn't be as bad because a lot of the schools already have stuff like that. I mean, Refugio has Chromebooks for pretty much all the kids. They don't have the Wi-Fi hotspot that Sean is that they have. That's not there. But for the most part, the technology is available. So
what would that cost though, John? What would that cost though, John? If you had to take a guess, I mean, what is an individual hotspot from Verizon cost?
I mean, if you're buying it straight up, it all depends on the package. Unlimited is probably $100 or something bucks a month, maybe two something. But if you're buying them in bulk, then I have no idea.
By the thousands. By the thousands.
We haven't really talked about the economics behind something like that, because once you start doing something like that, prices go up. So you're not you're not going to get that stuff for that price once you roll out something like that.
But you know what, Mike? I mean, that is the bad part about it, though, man. Is again, even trying not to stay political and trying not to be economical about it. I mean, that's part of the driving engine behind it, man, and it's going to affect exactly what Sean Book and a lot of coaches do, man. I mean, they're part of where the state and districts have been able to get away with this for so long is they push it back directly on the teacher. They push it back directly on the administration. They push it back directly onto parents, and they've been able to get away with it. Now they need relief. Now these people need help. And unfortunately, those conversations are going to have to start to happen, and they're going to have to start to happen seriously. And I mean, I'm gonna be damn honest, Mike. I haven't seen those conversations happen anywhere, unless I missed them. I might have, and Sean and Book, you guys may want to correct me. I haven't seen those conversations happen anywhere.
No, I haven't heard anything.
You mean financing for schools?
I'm just talking about what Mike got into, where Mike said that getting into the economics behind it, and John was talking about the price, and Mike made a very good point where he was like, what'd you say, Mike, in regards to the pricing? That's not going to be the pricing.
Yeah,
when that time comes, that price is going to go up.
Exactly. I mean, once you unleash that floodgate, when suppliers know that essentially the government's going to step in and start buying all these products, they'll jack the price up. So you're not going to get it at today's price. You're going to get it at a higher price down the road if they know that every swinging, every kid is going to get, a whatever kind of laptop or
get those Halliburton no bid contracts, huh?
Right. And so, it's just, I mean, it's what we probably want to have happen, but I think the economics behind it is what keeps it from not happening, because when it's all said and done, this is about inflation. So they're going to try and control inflation as best they can. Something like that, something like what we're talking about right now is something that's going to cause inflation if they actually.
I mean, think about the math basic. Like if we're just looking at across every school in Texas, even if we're just focusing just on Foster, Coach Sean said there's about 2,000 kids there. You get a Chromebook, a low price Chromebook for like $250. That's $500,000. Right. So think about the companies that'll come out the woodworks trying to supply these districts with these electronics. And I mean, you could make your entire profit off of just one school year for 5 years if they end up funding a state, So, or even a district as big as like Fort Bend. Fort Bend is.
Yeah, well, that's what I was about to say. If you look at just Foster, man, you got to times that by 5, because not just Foster, my district would get it. And then there's 5 high schools, there's 5 middle schools, there's 5 6th grade campuses, and there's probably 30 elementary schools. So, man, you're talking big money contracts, man.
So if you're looking at like 40 schools, that's 20 million, like off of one deal in one district, top to bottom. Like that kind of money, when you get to that kind of money, there starts to become some problems. You got to start looking at some ethical and who's getting palms greased and those sort of things. And it could just become
absolutely,
for sure.
Absolutely. But I mean, the conversations have to happen, man. And what's going to end up happening is they're not going to happen. And then there's going to be either some type of pushback or outcry. They're going to happen. It'll get rammed through like it always does. People will start looking at it a year or two down from the line and realize that someone's cousin owned a tech company that got X contract. You know what I'm saying? It just those are the things that are going to happen, man. The conversations have to happen, man. As uncomfortable as they are, they have to happen because if they don't, we get nowhere, and we've got to go somewhere, and we can't just stay. I mean, the normal's been absolutely annihilated, so we've got to go forward in one way, shape, or form.
So, Coach Sean, what happens if there's no sports at all and everything is online in the fall? Like, let's say we cannot get them together in no way, shape, or form. The guidelines don't allow it. Like, what happens then, just at the high school level in terms of coaches and players and?
Well, like for instance, our coaches are all teachers, so the coaching is just a stipend. The salary comes from. The bulk of it is as a teacher, so I won't lose coaches, as far as that, because they got to teach classes and stuff of that nature. So I think we'll be fine. Obviously, it'd be extreme disappointment, but the economic impact of not having, say, football will reverberate through other sports for many, many years, for maybe more than 1 year, to be honest with you, because most sports, including some schools that play football, operate athletics at a loss.
Yeah.
From the high school and the collegiate level. There is a lot of non-revenue sports that play collegiate athletics, and those kids go to school for free. I know Mr. Booker will be able to say that better than I can, but
yeah, that's no doubt. No doubt.
You can see the economic impact of even having conversations on the kids that are allowed to come back in college for a fifth year, or like they got the quarantine year. They get to come back for a senior year. That's a big economic impact. So they're cutting baseball programs. They're cutting golf. They're cutting men's soccer. I mean, it's, that could be a big, big deal for even high school athletics, because there's a lot of them that do not make money. And it's not ever about money. Obviously, it's publicly funded and stuff like that, but they do operate at a loss.
Hey, Sean, let me ask you this, because I honestly do not know. But, the schools that are successful, the schools that win, once you get into the playoffs, and let's say you make a run at a state title and win a state title, how much potential additional revenue does that bring in?
Well, and it changes because, there's so much that goes into football, like as far as transportation. The officials are going to get their cut, how many people came to the game, stuff of that nature. So it's huge. And you'd be surprised how much these stadiums charge teams to play. $15,000 for two teams to play. And if nobody shows up, you're still on the hook for $15,000.
And they split the revenue out.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's probably cheap. Yeah. Like U of H, I'm not going to get into it, but it's expensive to play at U of H. It's expensive
per school.
No, it'd be together.
Oh, together. So
$7,500 per team. But let's say, for instance, Foster is playing. Let's say Foster's playing Refurio, right? And we're gonna play them. We're gonna play Refurio and the at U of H. U of H is gonna charge both teams $10,000 to play there. The only revenue source is tickets. Right. Tickets, and they're probably not gonna give you concessions because they got to pay people to do the concessions. So your only revenue source is going to be ticket sales. Well, let's say you fill your stands and only half my crowd comes. So you made $20,000 on that, right? So you paid your $10,000, you made $10,000. Half of my parents show up and we only cover $3,000 in ticket sales. I'm on the hook for $7,000,
Wow.
So the economic, and then you got to know, like, You have to the transportation. You have to pay somebody got to drive you to the game. All right, and then you ain't even got the equipment yet. Every helmet on every kid's head is like $450 a piece, right? So if we don't play football, all right, so if we don't play football this year, the shelf life of a helmet is only 10 years, usually 9, because you don't give a kid a 10-year-old helmet, right? So I lose a year of 100, say I have 175 helmets on my campus. Those things, I missed out on a whole year of wearing them. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Every helmet is just aged a year and it hadn't even been worn.
Yeah.
You know?
So you lost revenue, but you accelerated the timeline on when you need to refresh equipment.
That is right.
So I actually found a cost, and this isn't any. I didn't search anything specific, but Tyler ISD popped up, Rose Stadium, and so they give you a breakdown of full cost to rent it. So for the football stadium to actually rent it for football, it's $4,000 plus 15% of the net, not to exceed $7,500. So it sounds like from what the net is, and I could be wrong, is ticket sales, things like that at the gate, whatever.
Stuff like that, yeah.
And then in addition to that, there's a $225 fee for the chain crew. Schools will be responsible for the 16% UIL fee. And then in addition to that, they don't provide things like, securing the officials, the game programs, things like that. So, I mean, there's a lot of – Sean, you're exactly correct, man. There's a lot of cost that goes into that stuff.
You haven't even talked about officials yet, man. You can't have the game without officials, and they're going to get the gate fee. They're going to have their mileage fee, and they're going to have their game fee. So the cut of the gate. They're going to get their mileage, and they're going to have to pay their game fee. So
that's crazy, man.
Technically, there's no way, like financially, to operate a season of football without fans.
Any sport, but especially football.
Why can't you just lie? I still don't understand why you couldn't work around that just charging people to watch it from home. I mean, honestly, get 20 of your boys together and live stream it from a house, and charge it. Charge somebody to live stream it from a house.
Good. Here's the problem with that, though. Like, let's say I'm a fan, just like I would do the Texans game. I watch the Texans game on TV. I don't pay a fee. I have a Texans party. 50 people show up. They're watching the game for free for $50. But if we go to the game, we just spend $75 a ticket or $100 a ticket to go to the game. So unless we don't have the capacity or the know-how to even get the big money contracts. The only ones that can play football without spectators is the big-time college football programs in the NFL because they have TV contracts. The Texas Longhorns are going to be able to play college football because they have the Longhorn Network, right? I mean, they're going to be on TV. People are going to watch it. There might not be people in the game. But high school can't survive that way. It's
yeah.
Because
it's
subscription. We don't have the
I mean, some money's better than no money, though, right?
Right. But I don't think that we're built for that. The UIL lets you stream on Fridays, on Saturday, Thursday nights. You can stream games and Saturdays, but you can't stream Friday night because I think it takes away some of the tradition of Texas high school football. Why go to the game if you can just watch it on your phone?
Right. And that's $10. I think it was $10 a month because I normally get it during the playoffs for December, and then I cancel it in January, and I paid $10 for 4 weeks of games for as many games as I can actually watch, along with on demand. So the economics, of course, it'll help some, but you're not going to be anywhere close to what you would have if
football. The revenue that football makes pays for a lot of the other sports throughout the whole year.
Man, Sean, Sean, that's why I said on that last one, man, when you started getting into the Title IX sports and things like that, our girls are going to be affected by that this year. You know what I'm saying? And you're talking about, their futures are at stake because there's going to be, if we establish a normal, there will be scholarship dollars available to them in the future if they stay healthy and progress. You know what I'm saying? So those things right there now you get into a whole nother can of worms, especially on the political side and the fallout that could come from that. Well, you know what? Foster High School is playing. How come my girls can't play volleyball or basketball?
Yeah.
There's no answer for that, right?
Hey, 10,000 people didn't show up to that volleyball game. That's
yeah.
that sounds bad. That sounds really bad. That
yes,
is,
yep.
When people complain about that kind of stuff, I was like, when's the last time you saw, 35,000 show up for the state championships at soccer?
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
I've never. You know what I mean? So, 100,000 people show up to the Texas Tech versus A&M game or Texas Tech versus Baylor. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not gonna happen.
Hey, I tell this story to anyone who never has seen high school football. But when Euless Trinity and Pearland played each other, I went to that state final, and I sat down, man, and I was sitting there. Me and my buddy Willis were sitting there. We're getting ready to watch the game, and this guy's sitting right next to us, and he's looking around, man, and he's taking pictures, and he's like, you could just tell that he's trying to process this whole thing. And I looked at him, and I was like, "Hey, man," I said, "Are you okay?" And he said, "Yeah, man, my son is getting ready to play." And I was like, "Oh, who does he play for?" He goes, "Oh, he plays for Pearland." And he's so excited, man. And he said, "I'm from Coffeyville, Kansas." And, Coffeyville's always had a pretty solid JUCO program. Yeah. And he told me, he was like, "I can't believe that I'm in $1 billion stadium on a Saturday night and there's 70,000 people in here watching the football game." He couldn't believe it, man.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't believe it. And that's the beauty of the whole thing, is exactly that. But I just hope, to some extent that we don't have to come up and have those conversations, man, because if that is indeed the case, there's going to be a lot of upset people, man, and a lot of upset students. And that creates a whole nother wedge that I just don't think we are prepared to deal with.
This goes back to what I was saying earlier, Chris, is, from a practical standpoint, we're going to take a hit. Youth sports is going to take a hit. There's no avoiding the hit that youth sports is going to take. It's all about mitigating how bad of a hit it takes, because you can't eliminate risk altogether, and it's impossible to do it. So people like Sean and Book and all these, faculty and people in the youth sports, side of the house, like, got to figure out, like, how do you mitigate how bad of a hit this is going to it's going to have. And, what's the new normal when it comes to
Yeah. And Mike, that's a good segue into the last topic that I want to get into before we part. Sean, Book, do you have anything to say to the parents in terms of having them do their part to help make this transition easier? Because normally, when we get into this thing, I mean, you deal with parents on a different level. You deal with the transition book on a different level. That normal has changed. We don't know what we're getting into, man. Is there anything specific, or just even advice, not so much direct, even advice that you would say to the parents to get these kids ready, so that way when you guys get them, it not only makes your job easier, but it makes your job safer for them?
Yeah, I would do this because I've had many conversations with parents. I would tell them to tell their student athletes to make sure they stay in contact with their coaches, especially now, because this is changing by the week. This is not the normal transition from graduating in May and reporting to campus, the first week in June. This is totally different. And even coaches are going through something different. I don't know if you've seen what Lincoln Riley said about getting ready for football. He didn't think it was right. He was saying they should wait. That student athletes' lives, putting the student athletes' lives at risk, it wasn't worth it. So this is the time. This is what I tell my student athletes. is that just because that you come to college doesn't mean that your parents stop being parents. They should still stay in contact with coaches, not bugging them, but just stay in contact with coaches. And that this year, this is going to be a special year because nobody really knows what we're going, what we're doing. It's just going to be playing by ear. So really, my advice is to just stay in contact with your coaches, especially the position coaches, because the position coaches are the one who recruited you. So they know you more than anybody else. And then finally, for me, this is going to be different. I think Coach Mack hit it right on point. That football pays for everything. Without football, there's pretty much no athletic program. The problem is with Title IX, it's mandated by law. So if you notice, I don't know about high school, but in college, you notice there are fewer male teams than there are female teams. So you can see maybe there may be about 5 or 6 male sports and 10 female sports. And most of that is because of football, because football has gobs of people, but the scholarship numbers have to be equitable. And so I don't know what it's like in high school, but I know what it's like in college. Those numbers matter. So, but Coach Mack is right. Football pays for everything. And he's right that most athletic programs lose money. And if you take away football without money, I don't know how they're going to make it. I just don't see it.
That's a good point. That's a good point, man. Sean, you got anything to add to that, man? We'd love to hear your final thoughts.
Final thoughts, and then we talked about parents. I think the biggest thing is just going to have to be patience. We have to be able to just have patience. We don't want to run in anything. We want to stay calm and be able to think this out and really have an end game in mind and then try to meet that in stages rather than just rushing into it and think that everything's going to go back to normal. I do believe that eventually we'll all be hugging and kissing and all the stuff that we have always done. I don't know what that looks like or how long it's going to take to that point, but I think patience and understanding and being and choosing to be kind is going to go a long way for these next few months.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Chris, you have a closing thought you want to close us out with?
Hey, I do, man. BJ Garcia actually just texted me. He was going to get ready to come on, but he's doing his own Facebook Live at 8:30 for the South Texas Select Showcase. So if you're listening in live, run over to BJ's, Facebook Live and listen to it, because I know he's had a lot of, questions in terms of, parents wanting to know when camps were going to happen, et cetera. So I think he's going to have some big news for you guys. And then, the secondary thing, Sean, Book, Mike, all of you have are veterans, have served, man. Monday is Memorial Day. I know Americans traditionally like to, celebrate it as quote unquote a holiday, but it's not for that. It takes on a different meaning for you guys because, it's for, military service members that are, that have died. It's usually traditionally, I think, observed the last Monday or the 30th or something like that. So, just keep that in mind on Monday, as we start to move towards Memorial Day, that, with the pandemic, with the isolation and things like that, man, there's going to be a lot of individuals that have served, that suffer from PTSD, things like that, this year's remembrance, I think, is going to take on a little bit different meaning. So reach out, man, check on those individuals, check on the individuals that have served, make sure they're okay, respect their Facebook postings when you see them or come across, because, again, man, it's going to take on a little bit different meaning. So I just want to leave y'all with that thought, and Mike and Book and Sean, if y'all have anything else to add to that, man, feel free. This is your platform.
Appreciate you guys having me on, man. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, same here. And I'm glad you said that, Chris. Just remember, Memorial Day is for people who did the ultimate sacrifice. not Veterans Day, but the ultimate sacrifice. So this is for those who are giving their life for the defense of our country. So again, I appreciate Mac and Mike for serving also, man.
No doubt, man.
Absolutely.
No doubt, man.
Keep your head up and move forward. That's all I gotta say. Keep your head up.
Hey, and I'll say, Mike is Mike and I go back a long way, man. We've known each other, now longer than it took us to actually get to St. Mary's. And Mike is a former Marine, Purple Heart, Special Forces operator in the Marine Corps. And one of the things that I heard someone tell him, "Hey, man, thanks for your service." And Mike, tell him what your response was, man.
I always tell people, if you want to thank me for my service, just pay attention to what's going on.
Stay informed, right?
Stay informed. If you don't stay informed, you're not going to know why they're sending us wherever they send us.
That's right, man. And that's why we do this. That's why we ask the whys behind this thing. This was, much like BJ's, man, South Texas Select Showcase. It happened on a late night Facebook talk. It happened on text messages, and this thing has taken form. BJ's has influenced a lot of lives directly. He's done a lot of positive things.
Another veteran.
Another veteran, absolutely. That's why I was hoping to have him on, man. He was a 20-year man like yourself, Book. So I was hoping he was going to jump on, but he didn't. But man, it speaks to the quality of individuals. I believe in giving people their flowers when the time comes. Especially I think one of the things that we as men need to do better, if you're listening to this, is I make no qualms about telling the individuals that I respect and admire them for whatever it is, and why I do so. Look at the individuals on this call, man, as we've talked and listened to their pedigree. It's not just their knowledge and what they've accomplished, but these are individuals that, if it went down, man, you would want to know them. If you need advice, you would want to know them. If you're having an issue, you would want to know them. And, I'm a huge proponent of that, man. So just know that when I say, something like that, I was raised by an individual that I was fortunate to be, raised by Jim Garza, man. He's highly respected. He's accomplished a lot, came from nothing. And, that's exactly what he taught me, man, is you respect those individuals that deserve your respect. And, you give them their flowers because they are a large part of shaping, who you are and what you become and the resources that you can reach out to. So, I appreciate you gentlemen, all of you, on being on here and taking the time out to do it, because it's, that's the hard questions, man. They have to get answered. And if we don't do it, someone else will. So might as well be us.
Absolutely. So I definitely want to echo Chris's sentiment. It's great to have you guys on, especially with Monday coming up, being Memorial Day. So again, thank you guys for your service, and all of those out there who did serve and took that ultimate sacrifice. So we definitely we're in uncharted territory, folks. We just don't know all the answers to these questions, how it's going to look, how it's going to work. But we look forward to kind of seeing where this thing goes. As parents, I have a son who's going to be a band member this year, so he's been excited about marching. May not happen now, so like it trickles down as we've discussed here. But we'll continue having these conversations, fellas. We probably have to have you guys back on as well as we continue to progress through this to discuss it a little bit more. And just want to tell everybody to stay tuned. We're going to be going to video episodes here soon, live video. So we did a little test tonight, but look for more of that. Find us at pfapodcast.com, as well as at PFA Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And that's it. We'll catch you next week. All right, sorry. Catch you Sunday, 2 p.m. And next week, Wednesday, 7 p.m. And we're out.